Welcome to JCON!
Wow, 30 years of Java, actually more than 30 years of Java. I'm pretty nervous to talk about such an important topic for a technology, but I think for all of us here in the room, it would help me a lot to understand, are you using any other technology as a developer besides Java? Can you please raise your hand if you do that? Yes, so more. There's a reason for my question, and I'm going to detail about that in this keynote. But who am I? Well, 30 years ago, and more than 30 years ago, I was this person and this grumpy little kid here. So when Java was starting to being thought of as a programming language, I was this little lady. And some people are like, oh, but the child doesn't smile. Well, I'm from Eastern Europe, and that's how I manifest joy. And secondly, I would like to share the background for this, because I remember the whole thing. It stayed with me. So my parents really wanted memories with their little daughter, and they wanted to take pictures, like not digital back then. So dress her up in a dress, right, to look cute. The problem is that I liked a lot to like play in the dirt, to dig in the dirt with my friends, and that kind of outfit stops you from digging in the dirt. So me back then as a kid thought, you know what? They want pictures. I want to play. I'm going to give them grumpy memories so that's how they remember me, and maybe they don't make me wear dresses again. And, well, look at me today. And nobody made me, no parent was there to tell me this. I learned on my way that, well, it's better, you have to feel comfortable in what you're wearing. So that was tiny me. But in another part of the world, there was a gentleman, James Gosling, that was going to the office, and he was thinking to much more complex things than playing in the dirt, like I was at that point in time. He was imagining a programming language, one that is simple, object-oriented, distributed, and a bunch of other things. But that programming language, what you really need to take from this slide is the first thing that he says about it is that it has to be simple. And the reason why it has to be simple is because that programming language probably it's going to be used by humans that work in the same team. And ideally, they have a great language that they talk to between each other, but also they talk to the computer. And I think that has been a goal with programming languages all the way, to make them simpler for us humans to talk to the computers. Now, in 1992, the programming language that was envisioned back then, it was called Oak, because James Gosling was seeing all the time an oak outside of his office window. And well, what use case does Oak serve back then? Well, Oak was serving a use case called star 7. And well, Sun Microsystems had created a special engineering team, and James Gosling was part of that team, to prepare for the next wave of computing. And that team decided to focus on the convergence between computers and home entertainment systems, back then TVs probably, right? And that system, star 7, you can think about it about the precursor of Internet of Things idea that is happening nowadays. Some call it a remote on steroids, but was the center of that system. So it was a remote with a very nice screen. It had a lot of ports. Remember when we were looking for computers that have a bunch of ports attached to them so we can connect them to more things? That was pretty much that, but in a small pace. And in that 1992 use case, there was somebody else. There was this merry, jumpy little guy that was introducing you to the capabilities of star 7. And this jumpy little guy nowadays, we all know him as Duke. Well, probably you haven't heard about star 7 except from the history lessons, like I did, because star 7 itself did not become a commercial success. But what happened is that it laid the groundwork for future innovations and also demonstrated the potential of touchscreen interfaces. Also, the software concepts that were explored in the star 7 project paved the way for Java. On May 23rd, 1995, that's when Java was probably announced for the first time. Now, the efforts of that of the Project Green transcribed into the main talk, the main character of this talk today. And the slogan that you see here, probably you've seen it before. Can you please raise your hand if you've seen the slogan before the day of today? So you know it. You know it was run right once, run anywhere. And this one described the software benefits of using the Java programming language. And you probably know it even today. It refers to the fact that compiled bytecode from Java source code can run on any system with a compatible Java virtual machine. And from there, from 1995, we got to Java everywhere on multiple devices, and we got to dream about Java in so many different ways. And the way that I dreamt about Java when I was in university, and I actually put in an application, was to actually use Java to control robots. You can find me at the Oracle booth, and I can tell you more about how I did that back then. But most importantly, apart from Java everywhere, Java has become a skill working across many platforms, empowering a lot of developers. Now, how could that happen? Like, how can Java work across so many platforms? Well, Java came out in the 90s, mid-90s, and I think we should reflect a bit about the changes that we saw in the technology shift. So probably many of you record the desktop applications. Then we got to client-server desktop applications, web apps, and we all love web apps, mobile applications, then it was cloud applications, SaaS era. Come on, cloud native Java. We have heard it, we have seen it, and it even is today, right? And now, starting 2022, we're experiencing the generative AI applications era. But Java was there since its appearance and evolved through all these shifts. Also, it evolved through the way that it was supposed to be deployed. It evolved from mainframe to on-premises, to data centers, to containers and K8s on-premise, for example, to hybrid, to clouds, and more. So this is quite impressive to survive so many shifts and to adapt all the time. But not just the technology itself and the code has evolved. The Java logo has evolved. Duke has evolved. It has come in different shape and sizes. And look, it is even eating popcorn, very suitable for the cinema today. But one very important change that happened in the technology, and that's something that we are going to have as anniversary in 2026, all of us, is that in 2006, at Java 1, in May 2006, there was an announcement that Java will become open sourced. And that happened almost 20 years ago. In May, we're going to celebrate 20 years since Java was announced to be open source. Now, the first code drop, it happened in November 2006. So the announcement was May. The actual code drop, that you can see the code, it was in November 2006. And since then, well, we all got to witness the thoughtful evolution of Java. It preserves what works and respects existing systems, hence the users and their knowledge. Java values stability, but also supports change when it strengthens it. And lasting changes respect the foundations they are built upon. Because progress is not disruption, it's how we maintain harmony over the time for all the libraries, frameworks, tools, applications, and everything that you build out there. So, responsible innovation is one grounded in experience. And what have we done? Well, over the last 8 years, we have broken large problems down, pain points, get real-world feedback from you through preview features, early access builds, push projects like ZGC, Amber, Panama, Loom, Valhalla forward. And we've done all this by staying true to our commitments of security, stability, and backwards compatibility. And well, there's something that couldn't fit in a slide, unfortunately. There's a Java universe of libraries, of tools, frameworks, and everything that you build upon. So it's hard to fit all in that. But this universe of possibilities is amazing because it continues to expand. Well, sometimes some frameworks may be discontinued, but the universe continues to grow. And that is thanks to you. So how do you become part of the story? When we get hired, We get hired for our skills and we get a job title, probably most of us, because this is how organizations work. But what we're doing in our job, being code, specifications, architecture, diagrams, interpreting understandings, you name it, well, that's where our individuality shines. I believe that repetition builds strength, but uniqueness gives it meaning. And well, to power all that, you need some programs around technology. And the programs around Java, well, you can think about OpenJDK, the open sourcing of that and what it brings to it. But also the JCP, the Java, sorry, I forgot the acronym. The JCP is the mechanism for developing the standard technical specifications for the Java technology. Also, we have Oracle Academy, which is to prepare students for careers in tech, and also Oracle University to develop job-ready skills and certify expertise. So all this is there, but also for you. I mean, Richard earlier mentioned Java user groups. Java user groups are the places where we get together and we can talk about Java, but also the connection to other technologies. Hence my question, like, you're using anything else at work besides Java? Because we want to discuss how the universe can expand and be bigger and better, all through collaboration. But to discuss a little bit more about how the universe expands, I would like to welcome on stage to discuss all this with a few guests of mine. So I'd like to ask here next to me, Andres Almiray. Come, Andres. Brian Vermeer and Bruno Souza. So maybe you've seen them as speakers at the conferences, maybe you've seen them welcoming you at this conference, but just give a brief introduction to who you are, what you do, and so on, so people will know you. Just very brief, because I have things to say during this keynote.
So my name is Andres Almiray. Hey, everybody. I've been working with Java since the beginning, since May 23rd. I was in college, and I keep working it because I love it.
My name is Brian Vermeer. I'm from the Netherlands. I work with Java for almost 20 years. Run the Netherlands Java user group, JFall, JSpring, etc. And I'm happy to be here.
Hey, hello everyone. I'm Bruno Souza. I'm known as the Brazilian Java man, or the guy with the flag. And my goal is to help you. For 30 years, I've been working to help you to grow your career and become an amazing developer.
Keep it, Mr. So I just want to be very quick about this. And the first question is going to be addressed to Bruno. First question is, what kind of mindset and culture do you think that Java encourages among developers?
So it's very interesting that, all this great story about Java is that when Java was released in 1995, it was released in the Alpha 2 version, right? The first public version was released with the source code for the language, for the Java VM. It was released with a specification, right, that allows us to discuss, how to implement Java in different things, and was released with a compatibility test, right, that other people could implement Java, right? So from the very, very beginning, Java was made to be collaborative, right? So lots of people, imagine right there, you announce here OpenJDK, for example, that came in 2006, but in 1995, that's 3 years before the open source definition exists, right? So Java was already released with the source code. So we could have, at that time, we could learn from the source code. And you guys know how important that is. And then not only we could learn from the source code, the license allows us to experiment, to change the VM, to change the language, to experiment things, and to discuss that, right? It did not allow us to kind of redistribute. That's what the missing part for the open source part, right? But allows us to have a discussion. And that's why in 1996, 97, we had an explosion of Java user groups, right? So Java, the user group that I run, it started in 1998, right? So to the very, very beginning, let me just ask you here, who was born before 1998? Okay, lots of people. That's good, right? So who was a professional at that time? Very few people, right? So when you guys were, So you guys start like your picture, right? When you're very young, we're already discussing and building communities around Java. So that's the mindset, right? Ours, the mindset was community and working together and collaborate.
Thank you, Bruno. Well, speaking about collaborations and contributions, well, I would like to ask Andres, what contributions you feel that had real impact on you, but also on the Java community?
Well, I have to start with the first one. So back in the day, so you can tell a bit for the gray hair, I needed to, Spring MVC did not have a JSON view. And there was no JSON library that you could use, so I decided to create my own. So I thought, maybe I can make this as an open source thing, but in order to make it happen, I was consuming another dependency, Apache Commons Lang, which some of you are probably aware of. And there were some issues with handling byte arrays I needed for whatever reason. So instead of just keeping it to myself, I talked to the developers and say, hey, this feature may be missing. This particular method is not working properly. Can you guys fix it? And they said, yeah, we can, but what about if you could send us a patch? So that was my first ever contribution to an open source project. I was not thinking about that. And it was actually a tiny one. And then I kept working on that, and I found another thing, and just like the proverbial snowball, just things kept rolling down the hill, and suddenly now I find myself 20 years later as a producer of many open source projects. I was able to find and to make a lot of friends because of that. So a tiny contribution will take you a long way. So I know that working on open source is not for everybody, but at least I will say give it a try. Maybe it's a small patch, maybe it's just filing an issue, maybe you could go all the way and create your own projects, or just make it a really tiny contribution. I think that is what really took me the most. Just get it started and then just figure out what happens.
Thank you, Andres. Well, now, that's a very inspiring story. Thank you so much. And yes, I think that many of you in the room work on private repositories, work under NDAs, and sometimes it can be frustrated that you cannot contribute to something that's open because you see that there are many constraints about that. However, there's always a way to contribute, and there's always a way to help in the Java community. And I think that earlier Bruno has shared it with the Java user groups and volunteering, because it's all about how you want to be, how you want to contribute to the community. It doesn't always have to be code to be appreciated. Now, the third question I want to ask to Mr. Vermeer, because, I know his passion for security, but I've also been to his first presentation, which was about functional Java. It was a very fun one, and I saw that one in 2018. He had a packed room in DevOps Belgium when I saw that's when I saw for the first time his session. So, which framework, library, or platform change in Java do you think is the best to represent Java's current relevance for modern development?
I think first of all, the community is the most important one to Java. I mean, like without the community, it's nothing. That's also why we want to be your friend, because you can fix open source libraries for me. Now, but seriously, people say Java is old, Java is verbose, but think about how Java has evolved over the last decade or so. Currently, in the later versions, in the last versions of Java, where the engineers are already thinking about post-quantum cryptography, which is not a thing yet, but will be a thing. So that is already in there. So if people say that Java is old, guess again and read what's in the newer versions. And I think you can compare that as well with how the full ecosystem works. Like, who is a Maven user or a Gradle user? So if you install a package in Maven or Gradle, the whole ecosystem works in such a way there are blockers there that you cannot just produce a package. Try that with other ecosystems like NPM when they have post-install scripts with which will lead you into supply chain security more often than in the Java ecosystem. So from a security perspective, Java is a very pretty good language and ecosystem around that. Lastly, if you look at all the generative AI stuff, everybody is speaking about Python. But guess what? With the libraries like Spring AI, LangChain for J, or the Quarkus implementation, it is even easier to do that in an enterprise level. On top of that, if you look at how the folks that are implementing these libraries are thinking from a security perspective on how to include guardrails, on how to check what's going into your AI, what's coming out, what's going into your tools, what's going out, it's easier than to do it in Python. So you can do that in an enterprise level language, and you don't have to go to Python, which is great, don't get me wrong. but probably a lot slower and not available for you as an enterprise developer. So I think Java is on top, and Java, and pretty much everybody is saying otherwise, except for the people that work in enterprise level development. So I think that's a good thing.
Thank you, Brian. Now, a lot of you in the audience are experienced developers. So each of you needs to respond to this last question, like how can experienced Java developers still have impact today in their roles, but also in the community? So very quick.
I think the easiest way is you are already here. Talk to people around you. Don't just go for all the talks. They are great, but talk with people in the hallway, with each other, in the Mentor Hub, on the Java user group. Share. Even your things that you think are not really important can be important for somebody else because they didn't experience your problems yet.
Yeah, I'm about to repeat the same words. One of the things is that every one of you has something to share. It's not about quantity. It's not about size. It's just about, it's just simply saying, thank you for that session, thank you for that conversation, or something similar like that. Because you have no idea how long those little words of encouragement can go for someone else that is in need of those things. If you want to share about tech, if you want to share about your other passions, also do it. You have a great opportunity today and the next 2 days here at this event, and you can continue to do so at your local Java user groups or your local meetups.
And Bruno?
Okay, hard to repeat the whole thing here again, right? But my suggestion to you is find one person that you don't know and just say hello, right? Talk about your project. Listen to what they want to say, and do this with everyone around you, right? So you can meet them. I'm sure there's someone near you right now that you don't know. Just go ahead and say hello, right? But one thing that you could do is come talk to the speakers, right? A lot of times, when the talk finish, there's like 5, 6 people that come talk to the speaker, maybe sometimes more. But then an hour later, the speaker's outside. No one's talking to them, right? And here's one thing that Heinz Kabut said once. He said, I'm a speaker, and I'm shy. So when I'm in events, I don't know what to say to someone. I can say just, hey, hello, talk to me, right? So I'm just walk around hoping that someone is going to talk to me. And then I know lots of you look at Heinz and say, oh, man, that's an amazing Java champ. I want to talk to him, but maybe he's too busy. He's just waiting for you to go say hello, right? And so all of us are like this. So come and say hello. And a good way to do this, of course, is come to the Mentorship Hub. There's going to be all day, speakers there talking to you, and you can take a look at the agenda at the website.
Thank you, Bruno. Thank you, guys. Thank you for sharing the stage with me and for inspiring the audience. Well, speaking about sharing and contributing, I want to bring something to your attention that also is about contributing. So you can contribute to OpenJDK. So many people, including myself many, many years ago, I thought that the OpenJDK project, although that's open sourced, well, because I was working on private things, I was thinking, okay, I can never become a contributor there. It must be some very smart people that work upon that, and maybe I'm not enough to be a contributor there. I can tell you that I am a contributor there today. So I want to tell you that when you're new to the OpenJDK project and you have not contributed anything yet, you are a participant. Participant means that when you are going and subscribing to the mailing list and you're getting involved in the conversations there, because there are sometimes conversations when people discuss how a certain feature will be evolved, and you, especially you that are very experienced in the audience, you have known how that feature worked for you and your teams. You can get involved and share, like, you don't have to say that I'm working on this and that, like all the private details, but just give an overview of your scenario so that we are aware of that scenario when we are thinking about the future and the feature. So, but besides this, there are also additional ways to contribute. You can test the early access builds. You can, as I said, provide constructive feedback on that. We have quality outreach, where we are reaching to the libraries and tools that are in the Java ecosystem to let them know that there has been a change that has occurred in the OpenJDK, and that might impact them. So we ask them to test the early access builds. We write about those, and we say, hey, this has been introduced. these are why we introduced this change. It's for a benefit, but we also want you to be aware that this has been introduced so that you don't end up like deploying something or releasing something that could affect your end users. So come to talk to us, to our booth, about how you can contribute to OpenJDK. It's very straightforward and easy. Now, there are a bunch of features in releases, and you probably have seen them. Like, some features are final features, some features are experimental. So the experimental features are most of the time related to the hotspot enhancements. And you've probably seen this very recently, that when you need to maybe enable a certain generational garbage collector, you have to use sometimes the experimental flag. So these are the experimental features. Now, once a feature based on feedback and, of course, benchmarks and other stuff is becoming reliable enough, the experimental flag is not needed anymore. But in the beginning, they're experimental. There are also experiments that probably don't succeed, and they stay in experimental stage until they actually become a success. So it takes a little longer because we want to make it strong and backwards compatible and preserve the stability. There are also incubator modules. So these are APIs, tools that one day might be in the JDK, but we need feedback upon them. So you can think of incubation like a pre-stage for preview features. And preview features are features that I would call they're almost done, but we need, again, feedback to actually consider them done. And if there's something that we anticipate that it's not gonna be 100% to the to our values, to the values of Java, then maybe it's better not to release that yet and give another round of preview. Sometimes it can be exhausting and it can be disappointing. You see, oh, this again is in preview, well, or this again is in incubation. Well, we're doing that because we want to have the features ready in the greatest shape possible so that nobody experiences disruption in what they're doing at work. But I've been telling all these because I also want to talk of Java of today. And well, Java of today is JDK 26, right? And probably some of you have seen Java 26 has 10 JDK enhancement proposals covering improvements in performance, libraries, language, security, and more. So you've seen these things, and I've seen a lot of people that focus on the fact that there's these chaps, and probably many people receive that maybe nothing else was there. Well, there are way more than that. There are thousands of other issues and enhancements, and these are just another portion of notable features in Java 26. And like performance for virtual threads improved, a new hairy creature emoji for Unicode 17.0 support. But altogether, with all these features that are being implemented, Java continues to get better, faster, more secure in every release. And of course, there are a lot of contributors, and I couldn't fit all their pictures in the slide. Would have been nice, but also I would need to get a lot of agreements, for sharing pictures, because we're in the EU. We need to be be cautious about that. So many of those contributors are like you, and you trust Java because it's a great platform, great programming language when working with it. But it is powered by companies, but is most importantly powered by people that work at companies, and not only, that want to contribute and make it even better. So again, if you would like to contribute, please stop to the Oracle booth to have a chat with me and my colleagues. But besides making Java, Oracle, well, also makes other things that help Java evolve. So a bunch of these things are related to JavaFX and its support, to the Java Platform extension for Visual Studio Code, and of course, our own flagship framework, Helidon. So, what about the future? We want to hear about the future, right? Well, future, I know a bit about the future. But I think you also know a bit about the future. The future is anchored in present efforts. We've talked about Java technology, about community, about evolution, about connections. But everything in the platform is connected. It's not just what it is in the mainline JDK that gets released every 6 months. It's also about the effort of experimentation that goes behind the scenes. And we have seen the experimentations being called in different projects. Now, some of these projects are dear to my heart because I get to experiment in them myself, so I'm more passionate when I'm going to talk about them. But engineering teams, like my colleagues at Oracle, and also the people that from the previous slide, they find time to contribute to these projects, and then once their contributions and experiments are mature enough, they become those types of features that are incubators, previews, or experimental features. So this is where the future starts, with this innovation here, and it's done all in the open. So all these experiments are open source. It's not just the JDK itself, but also the other projects that exist around them. All conversations happen on the mailing list. All the source code is open. But moreover, what is the strategy behind this? Because, well, Oracle is the steward of Java. So what's the strategy with Java and AI, for example? Well, we've seen development in the agentic development space as well. And for Gen AI, there's tools and services like OCI Generative AI, like Cursor in Java VS Code extension. Yes, the Java VS Code extension that Oracle has works with Cursor as well. And of course, we also like to collaborate with other ecosystems. We like to collaborate with other frameworks like with Embubble, Kug, Spring AI, and more. We also like to embrace libraries and frameworks. And Helidon AI has done that. So Helidon, through its AI portion, has embraced LangChain4j and has done a wonderful job in creating a seamless library so that you can work together with different AI features. We also like LangChain4j itself. We also like Spring AI, and my colleagues in the database team, they probably many times publish a lot of tutorials about how to use Spring AI with the Oracle 26 AI database, so give those a try as well. And, well, we look into other projects too, like Amber, ZGC, and Panama. But my favorite part is coming now, the controlling part. Because I would like, as a professional, to be able to control how a model is being trained and how a model is being worked with, how I'm going to do inference and how I'm going to do deployment of that model. It's been a dream that I've been passionate about in 2015 when everybody, like in my master's degree, said, how can you want to do machine learning with Java when Python is the best for machine learning? And I still did my paper in Java. And if you want to talk to me more about that, come find me at the booth. But I am very excited about the possibilities of training and deployment that I see with the evolutions of projects Panama, Valhalla, Babylon, and lately with the announcement of the project Detroit. And of course, we have a few experiments and demonstrations that are in the Babylon repo, and especially we have a few experiments regarding running Java on the GPU through the Heterogeneous Accelerator Toolkit. Again, come to the booth. Looking forward to share those. But preparing for the future, preparing for having control over AI models, over how inference with those is working, and more, needs good learning, right? And good learning comes with good foundation. Knowing Java is a great way to start with having that foundation. Now, there are conferences, there are meetups where knowledge is shared. But maybe sometimes you're tired to travel, or you have other personal matters that impede you to be present at a conference or at a meetup. You're not left behind. Now, knowledge is shared through tutorials on dev.java and learn.java. Insights that happen in the Java platform that the engineers and myself are writing about, they're being shared on inside.java. And of course, there's a YouTube channel where you can find out more about what's going on in Java, what's new, what's going to happen in the future. And speaking of learning, for students, we have learn.java. And in learn.java, we have this special place called Java Playground. This is a browser-based environment where you can run snippets of Java code without the need to download the JDK or use an IDE. Now, you can just run a piece of code. It's not an IDE 100%. It's just where you can go, write some Java code, and run it. So if you're eager to test JDK 26, you can go to learn.java or dev.java, because that one also has JDK 26 in the playground, and try the new language features or the new core libraries features there. Most importantly, We also have a way for you to share those experiments. So we have added recently a feature called shared snippets, where you can just go type some code in the playground, and then with a custom URL you can share that code with others. And the funny thing is, not sure if my colleagues really tested this, but the same snippet ID works between the two playgrounds, that is in learn.java and dev.java. So I think that's a feature. So yes, and my manager gets to find out now live. Surprise, surprise. But I think this kind of feature of sharing the small code snippets can help you when you want to share an idea with a colleague, or can you share about like, hey, I learned about this thing. Let me show you how it works. We also give you examples of how some features work, so that you have a way to interact with those new features, and you're not like, oh my god, how I'm going to write a new lazy constant, how that API works. So you can find them all there, you can share them, and you can share it with us. I mean, if you want, you can share them on social media and tag us and see, look what I built there. But getting back to all that I wanted to say is that the future is, if we're built by us, if we're helping each other, and I think that's what everybody that was here on stage wanted to say, and all the efforts that we see with Java are there to support communities all around the world. Communities today are represented by developers like you that are in the audience, that are asking questions, that are come to the booth, that will challenge the ideas, that will be unhappy with certain features, that are going to pose a very smart question to a certain speaker, but also developers that contribute and share further their learning with their colleagues. And I see that all of you are relaxed on those chairs, so I'm going to do something a little unusual. I would like you to stand up, please. Yes, a lot of people to stand up. It's good to do some exercise. Now, yeah. Yes, developers, raising from the chair. I know how it feels. Sometimes it's hard for me too at home. I want to take a moment to recognize the contributions that all of you have to Java, regardless if it's in the open source or in the private repos, because I was once a developer that was supposed to code only in private repos. And look at me, I'm here and I'm contributing to Java. So I want for us to applaud ourselves for being part of this community, for helping our colleagues, and just for being awesome here. Thank you. You are part of Java's story. What I want to say is that Java has lasted 30 years because it evolved. You can stand or you can just still sit down. It's up to you. I don't want to impose anything. I just want to impose just standing up. So what I want to say is that, well, a technology lasts for 30 years because of the humans that are, inspired and dream about it or at it. For many years, I dreamed about it, being part of a story. And I believe that the future is being built by all of us. All of us together, collaborating, sharing the little that we have. As Andres said it, you never know, the little that you share today can help an entire world. And well, while you're sharing and having fun, we at Oracle, we're also working on building this, Java 1 2027. So stay tuned for more. But until Java 1 2027, I want to thank you for being here today at this keynote, listening to me. Now go to the JCON sessions, learn, network, and let's shape a better future together. Thank you.